In this video we'll be looking at the new Talens A4 sketchbook. The lovely Danielle at Under the Rowan Trees has sent me this A4 sketchbook to try out for her. We'll be using various mediums including markers, graphite and charcoal, fine liners, coloured pencils, watercolours, watercolour pencils and pen and ink. So let's get started. Today we're looking at Royal Talens Art Creation sketchbooks. Mine is A4, which is roughly 8.5 by 11.5 inches. The paper is £90 and it's acid free. It does have an elastic, which I like very much. The first couple of pages seem to be a little bit gummed, so I'll probably leave those for sketching and use it as an index. On the whole, it feels like you would expect £90 paper to feel. The paper is nice and smooth, but you can feel a slight bit of texture. So we'll touch on that more as we go through the different mediums. The book is plain all the way through, and it does feel quite sturdy and very well made. Doesn't feel cheap at all. I've not looked at the price so that wouldn't be influencing any opinions I had anyway. And I've listed all the materials that I'll be using below, some of which are affiliate links, and I'll also include a link to Danielle's site Under the Rowan Trees so that you can get some advice on all things stationery over there. Starting with the watercolours, I quickly sketched out the letter J with a Faber-Castell 9000 series graphite pencil. I'd already pre-mixed some Winsor & Newton colours. Do like these watercolours, they're very vibrant. And I started by adding a very light wash. You can always add more colour. And just quickly blended it, giving it kind of a marbly feel. And I'll go through and add a little bit more colour as we're going along. Any excess water I've dabbed off with the tissue, just out of interest. You can get some interesting patterns if you're using a textured kitchen roll doing this method. I did use a sheet of glassine paper behind here in case it did go through onto the other side, but actually it handled the watercolour really well, so that was quite nice. At this point I thought it looked quite leafy, so you'll see where we go from here. I picked up some markers. I'm not sure what brand these markers are, but I will find out for you and leave a link below. Again, I left the glassine paper behind in case it did go through, and the markers did go through, but these ones I do feel are really heavily pigmented, and they feel quite, not wet, but they do feel like they leave a lot on the paper. So I just tested out a few things, had a little play. The colours seemed quite true when I was playing around. And I will say that we're not going for anything remotely realistic. All of the things that we've done throughout the videos are 10-15 minute max. I also felt that the watercolour dried quite well and quite quickly on this paper, as did the markers. Next we're moving on, and we are using the Faber-Castell 9000 series. And as Danielle from Under the Rowan Trees comes from Northumberland, one of the best known sites in Northumberland is the beautiful Bamburgh Castle. Again, I think this sketch took me maybe 10 minutes, so we're not going for anything realistic looking. Using some paper stumps to blend out, and then I've added some coloured charcoal. I felt like the paper handled both the graphite and the charcoal really, really well. If you're outside doing a bit of plein air sketching, it's lovely. To stop it from smudging, I did use some glassine paper with some good old washi tape, which of course you can get from Under the Rowan Trees again. I'd best start this section by saying that lettering is not my forte, and this one sure wasn't my finest hour. I happen to have some Arteza fine liners that I use for colour coding things that I need to do on a daily basis. They felt really nice on the paper, as did the Crayola. The Crayola smoother than the Arteza. And neither of these pens went through to the other side of the paper. And there you go. Oops. On this one, I tried a few things. We've got a brush pen there, some Crayola, using some stencils. If you wanted to visit Under the Rowan Trees, I'm sure you get stencils there too. And on here we tried some watercolour pencils. These ones are the Faber-Castell Albec Dura. And I just used a little water brush there. I also used some pen and ink. Now I loved the pen and ink on this paper. It felt really, really smooth. And just for good measure, I threw in like a Sharpie type pen. The ink didn't go through to the other side. Nothing did on this. The only thing so far were those large markers. Those brush pens felt even nice going over the top of the watercolour on there. I also tried some Faber-Castell Polychromos here, traditional artist's grade coloured pencils. They felt very smooth, but I do feel like they wouldn't take an awful lot of layers. So if you are sketching, those would be perfect for that. But the way I traditionally work is layer upon layer upon layer, and I don't feel that I would get the same amount of layers as I would usually expect. So those are my thoughts on the Royal Talens Sketchbook. In summary, I love the colour. I am a little bit partial to yellows and oranges though. I do find it's a nice size. It's really good quality. I think my favourite for drawing and sketching would be the graphite and the charcoal. The tinted charcoal is nice. I did like the pen and ink and the brush pens. I still don't know the cost, so this is a completely unbiased unboxing and test. I have no idea how much it cost. Would I buy it again? Unless it's something ridiculous like 50 quid. Yeah, I would. I really do quite like it. For those who like a lot of art in their bullet journal, I think that's it's a really nice book for those sort of art journals. Really nice. I wasn't keen on the big markers in there. It did go through, it bled through. Nothing else did. When I go to the watercolour and the other pens, nothing else really bled through. That's the back. So I would be confident in using anything apart from those big markers in it. They do come in a lot of different sizes, and I've said before, Danielle from Under the Rowan Trees, who sent me the book, is really lovely and she's so helpful. So if you wanted any advice on these books, please just drop her a message. You'll find her on Facebook, you'll find her on Instagram, and she does have her own website. So there you go. Hope that helps. Bye. Thanks for taking the time to watch. You can find me across all of the social media channels listed below. Please hit subscribe on the YouTube and hit the little bell to be notified of any new videos. See you again soon. Bye for now.